Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen, back to the LPL. This is our English broadcast brought to you by Gosu Gamers and Games in Asia. I am Pyrotechnics, joined on the casting desk by, once again, it is Frosk Garin. And Frosk, we have some close standings middle of the season, don't we?
Yeah, it's currently OMG with kind of a hefty, godlike lead. I believe they have 14 points in the standing, and then right behind them, a three-way tie between Starhorn Royal Club, World Elite, and Edward Gaming.
Yep, it is really, really close. Even behind that, LGD only 1 point behind that second place tie, and then Invictus Gaming sitting a little lonely in 6th place, but they're still ahead of Young Glory and World Elite Academy, who only have 2 and 1 points respectively. But this matchup, a lot closer than it appears. It will be Starhorn Royal Club taking on Invictus Gaming, and this is a couple of things. First of all, the chance for Starhorn to move themselves up a bit in the standings, but also chance for Invictus Gaming to be maybe a little more vindicated. Their record not really indicative, or rather their standings not really indicative of their record.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right there. The funny thing about Starhorn Royal Club and Invictus Gaming is they actually have very similar, if not the exact same record. They've beaten the same teams and they lost to the same teams. The difference is that IG has yet to face last place team World Elite Academy. So assuming that they beat World Elite Academy and 2-0 them, that's a hefty 3 points in their column there that pretty much bumps them up the standings quite a bit.
And this is still a pretty early stage of the LPL summer, despite the fact that a lot of games have been played because it's been so close. It's really hard to pick a lot of winners out of the pack, except for, of course, OMG really standing out more than any other. But tonight's games will certainly decide a couple of changes in the standings, as we already mentioned. Starhorn Royal Club poised to make a lone second place stakeout should they manage to take, well, in fact, no matter what, they'll jump up a little bit unless they don't win any games against Invictus Gaming. But should they win even one, they'll jump themselves up to at least second place. And, of course, later on in the evening, we have LGD taking on World Elite. And those are two teams that are also in a similar position. World Elite, once again, tied for second. LGD in 5th place.
Exactly. So today's matches are fairly important for the second place standings. It is IG's kind of moment to make it back. Historically, last split, they had a bit of an issue in the same boat where they kind of stumbled out of the gate, and then it can't be underestimated that they finished, second place in the 2014 spring split? So IG hype. They still have a chance.
And very, very unlikely even that they managed to do that too, but it was impressive. When it's clutch, they pull it out.
We're about halfway through the season, or excuse me, halfway through the split. So yeah, there's definitely room to play. The standings are starting to branch themselves out, and today, one of those important days. Of course, OMG World Elite Academy on the board since they were the last game played. OMG with their victory solidified their lead.
So far, so good for them, and not a moment too soon, as this has been a really, really tough competitive split for them so far, and for everybody, really. So another bit of news from Invictus Game. Not really sure if their roster is going to be 100% certain this time, as top laner Young Soo, once again from Korea, you might have had a couple of visa issues we're hearing.
Yeah, if Young Soo doesn't play, we have word that they'll be using their sub backup. His name is Do. Don't have much information on him other than he is the top lane sub for IG, but hopefully Young Soo was able to clarify his visa issues and kind of get back with the team and work on rebuilding that synergy, because I mean, personally, I think IG's had a lot of issues with him.
It's been a real tough try to replace who they've had before. This is not exactly the easiest of people to sub out, and yes, we know. I'm not gonna mention any names because I don't want you to get all teary-eyed again, Frost. But
can we have a moment of silence for PDD?
Yeah. Oh, here we go again.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you cry, but yeah, if they do have Young Soo back, even so, they have had a bit of trouble. It doesn't seem so much in the communications department, but just in the synergy. And I don't know if I want to call that out as necessarily a weakness for Invictus Gaming, but they haven't had the most stable of starts so far. We'll see. This will be a pretty good proving ground for them tonight against Starhorn Royal Club, a team that also really has a lot to try and prove. They were considered a dark horse coming into this split, but they've sort of faltered a little bit and maybe regained a bit of pace against some of the lower tier teams. But if they can beat a team like Invictus Gaming, despite being ahead of them in the standings, should help them out.
I think what's very interesting about Starhorn Royal Club and Invictus Gaming is they kind of have very similar faults as far as their team strategy as a whole. Again, historically, Invictus Gaming has pretty much been about the early game. Illusion, as a jungler, is well known for his early lane pressure and his ability to gank, and he kind of teeters off into that team fight phase that China's so well known for. It's always been the perception that if IG doesn't win early, they don't win at all. They just kind of falter and they stall out. Insect seems to be having kind of the same run or go of things on Starhorn Royal Club. They come out really strong and they look so good, and Insect's very smooth, communicating with the soul lanes, getting UZI what he needs, and then they just kind of stall out and they don't make it happen late game. So this should be a battle of the explosive early games and to see who can kind of snowball that into a victory.
Absolutely, and IG have their work cut out for them. As we can see, look at that screen. The recent match has really not been too kind for them, only taking 1 win out of the last 6. And that's, you know, we talk about teams going on tilt. Well, they seem pretty happy right now. We'll introduce our starting lineup. It looks like Youngsu will be back today, so happy to see him there. And his last couple games have been a pretty good smattering of those tanky players as well. He's been rocking Jarvan as well as, of course, Shyvana twice now.
I wouldn't use the word rocking, but it had made an appearance. Well,
he's been playing it. All right.
No, so Youngsu, mixed success. He's been, like you said, starting to ride the Shyvana train, pretty much previously seen for his Gragas top, and that was exclusively it. In the jungle here, we do have Illusion. Again,
he more rocks the Jarvan, I'll give you that.
Illusion, known for his early game pressure. He kind of teeters off into team fights. Not necessarily the most mechanically skilled player, but definitely considered a top form jungler for LPL. Not the best, but, you know, he ganks. That's a start.
Ganks are good.
I know, right? And in mid lane, of course, the famous, fabulous Zatai. Now, Zatai is a bit of a, I'm going to use the word prodigy. The thing about Zatai is when you had Cool, not this time around Cool, but last time around Cool. Cool, Whites, Messiah, kind of the 3 great mid laners from China. Zatai was considered kind of the 4th go-to guy. Obviously, Whites, Messiah retired. Cool was on the injury list, and it was up to Zatai to kind of step forward and to become that mid laner that he needed to be. Faltered, stumbled, don't know what's up with him, but he's kind of, sometimes he returns to forms, and sometimes he plays Zillion mid, so hit or miss. And then, of course, in the bot lane, we have Kid. Known for his Trinity Force 80 carries. Again, today's patch is 4.10, so I'm very excited to see.
Last.
I know, right?
This should be a good patch
later,
for Kid, actually.
Yeah, it's a really good patch for Kid, just because Trinity Force was one of the few 80 carry items that wasn't touched. And then, of course, joining him is going to be Kitties, known for his Thresh play. You cannot let Kitties get Thresh. He will 1v1 your 80 carry.
He's also one of the few, I would argue, supports in the LPL that plays a very, very good Nami game. She's very popular across all of them, but they don't seem to have much success across the board. Kitties is definitely an exception to that rule.
Definitely one of the few Chinese supports that knows how to press R correctly on Nami.
Oops, shots fired.
Historically, I keep using that word historically, traditionally, just changing it up. Chinese supports, they like to play hard engaged champions. You think like Annie support is kind of where this originated from. It was made popular by Tabe and Worlds. They like having that ability to start the fight, to go all in. And Nami, she really doesn't offer that. She's much more about disengage. So it makes sense to me that they would have confusion kind of translating an OG pick into the Chinese meta. But we should start at the bottom here with Starhorn World Club, which means that this is going to be 0 here. And you want to talk about dangerous Thresh. We talked about how Kitties, you can't let him have Thresh. Zero, you cannot let him have Thresh either. I expect it to be a very highly contested pick, if not banned. Also a very great Nami player. Obviously, he is Korean, so one of these things is not like the other.
He's not the only one on that team, of course, but we'll go over to the 80 carry as that's where the camera's going to pan next. It is, once again, the absolutely fabulous UZI.
UZI, known for Lucian, Caitlyn, and here's the other thing. 4.10, Caitlyn was considered to get a pretty sizable buff due to now her different build options. UZI is traditionally a Caitlyn player and a very good one, so I'm really curious if he's going to switch it up and kind of go more towards that route as opposed to the Lucian Twitch now. In the mid lane is going to be, excuse me, Corn.
That's really all you have to say. It's Corn.
I had to get a drink of water. I like swallowed a peanut incorrectly or something.
Yeah, he's actually one of those. I know you prioritize farm quite a lot in LPL, but he is exceptionally good at it as well. He also plays a pretty good variety of champions, utility mages, but also a lot of assassins. He also will belong to favorites of his, not really showing up in the most recent, but expect him to maybe make use of that if they let him get his hands on it.
And of course, in the jungle is going to be the famous Insect. We talk about hit and miss success. I feel like Insect either comes out super hot and heavy, or he just completely teeters off. Rengar, Kha'Zix, Lee Sin kind of been his go-to champions. Haven't seen much of the Jarvan front that other junglers have been running, so very much about that hyper-aggressive, I'm going to carry throughout the jungle, which is nice for someone like Uzi. Uzi has publicly stated, you know, it's nice to not be the only person on my team that can carry. The fact that Starhorn Royal Club has different threats like Insect, like Corn, like even Zero on cases. And then, of course, in the top lane, sorry, another peanut.
You might want to wash it down with some cola. There we go. In the top lane. And we've seen he's been liking that Jax quite a lot. He's extremely good, or he's extremely proficient at the champion if he's allowed to get it. Has played top lane Gragas a couple times. He also favors a very tanky Shyvana build. And I can't help but thinking that this name is such an appropriate one for this team. Starhorn World Club, they're a team full of stars, and they seem to be very, very much like royalty. Everyone looks very much up to them. They have a lot of playmaking players, a lot of people that are popular and considered to have a high impact, but sometimes they're not always up to that standard. Let's see if they are up to it tonight. I think they are a little bit more favored than their opponents going into this match.
Name of the game today is going to be consistency, and that is the #1 killer of both of these teams. You talk about stars, which you're absolutely right. There's a lot of stars across both these teams. We talked about how Zatai was a prodigy. He needed to step up. Uzi obviously recognized internationally on his ability to play AD carry, and of course now with Insect joining the ranks, with Korn, with Cola, they have the threats across the team to be a very scary team. But in picks and bans, IG on the blue side, Starhorn Royal Club on the red side. No surprise, Lee Sin is going to be taken off the board. I expect to see, Jarvan, wasn't expecting that. I expect to see Thresh contested, Yasuo and LeBlanc. Actually, LeBlanc 4.10 suffering some changes, definitely Yasuo. But I think LeBlanc might squeak through, obviously her Q being changed this time around.
It's a nice target, too. Jarvan is, again, a champion that both Youngsu and Illusion have played recently, but Illusion clearly more favoring that one. Jax makes sense. Again, Cola, very proficient Jax player, and he's almost perma-bannable anyways. Caston taken away now, and the last bans are locked in as well.
So Thresh still on the board, Nami is still on the board. Youngsu is going to go ahead and insta-lock his Gragas top, kind of reverting back to what he found success on initially. Again, we talked about the Yasuo pick being hovered over for Korn there. The nice thing about
they're gonna take this one.
Yeah, probably. The nice thing about Zatai is literally this guy's champion pool. I swear he just has a random button on his desk, and when he's in champions, he's like, hey guys, you mind if I play Zillion mid? Okay, locks it in. Of course, we talked about the Thresh pick, so Zero gonna take that one. Huge hit to kitties.
Yeah, this is bad for IG right now. That Zero and Korn both getting champions that they extremely, extremely favor. And well, what are they gonna lock in to answer for it? I mean, this is a really tough call.
For once, I actually think that the Kassadin ban was justifiable. Again, Zatai, known for his champion pool. I know that he can play Kassadin, so usually I comment on how the Chinese picks ban phase is relatively weak, and oh my god, it's a Skarner.
Whoa. Okay, we get to see Skarner on 410. I like this. Illusion, the bold step.
Immediately switches that up into the Skarner. So 4.10 changes to Skarner. The most notable one is kind of his pseudo Braum passive, Crystalline Stinger. Every third hit, Skarner procs. He gets a 0.5, 0.7, and 1 second stun.
Yeah, but he's the only one that can activate it too, so you can't stack it up like Braum.
Exactly. And there's the Uzi looking at Caitlyn. This is going to be good.
And Rengar as well for Insect. I mean, everybody. Oh, they might switch it over to Elise, but everybody on Starhorn is getting their preferred picks. There's nothing that Invictus Gaming is doing to stop this, and I worry for them in the later stages of this champ selection. They could have taken Caitlyn away, but clearly, Kid favoring the Lucian pick.
Well, we talked about how Kid is more of an AD caster. You think about his Ezreal, his Corki, Lucian as well. So it's much more his playstyle to go towards these champions, whereas Uzi is known for his mechanical godliness at those right-click AD carries. So Caitlyn makes sense here in the fact that I don't know if Caitlyn's necessarily in Kid's repertoire.
Yeah, that might be part of the issue as well, and they're doing some very, very strange picks. Once again, we're going to have maybe a Zillion mid. Is this getting locked in right now? It is! Okay. So this is going to be a very, very odd game from Invictus Gaming. Controversial picks all around, I'd say.
You can't see my face right now, but there is definitely a face being made that is going to be Zillion being taken into the mid lane by Zatai again. He showed some success on it, and by success I mean he did well. IG did not do well that game, however. And it looks like it's going to be a Shyvana hover for Cola as far as the last pick.
And again, this is everybody on Starhorn getting a pick that they want. They lock it in. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with the Chinese icons for characters, no, that is not Frieza. It is actually Shyvana.
It's not even her final form.
Not even her final form. You have to wait till 6 for that. But this is the perfect pick ban phase for Starhorn World Club. They have literally gotten, if not the favorite pick,
the only thing they lost is Lee Sin.
Yeah, and that they didn't even give that up to Illusion. I'm a little worried right now for Invictus Gaming.
Yeah, I would definitely be worried. We talk about the weakness of the Chinese pick ban phase, and like you said, literally Starhorn Royal Club got pretty much first tier, second tier picks across the board, mostly first tier picks. We talk about the Yasuo for Korn, the fact that Uzi is traditionally a Caitlyn player. Caitlyn 4.10 just got a huge buff going her way, so I mean, he hasn't. We haven't seen it in the professional scene for a while from him, but if everyone can think back to Worlds, that was pretty much the defining moment that Uzi put his stamp on history there.
Indeed, and he'll have a chance to put another stamp on history tonight if they do shake out this 2-0. It'll end up really projecting them forward in the standings above their competition. It won't allow them to take first place, but Starhorn, if they can 2-0 here, or even just 1-1 it would definitely help them out further down the standings, and it would kind of prove to the rest of the LPL that they're a team that nobody should really take lightly. Invictus Gaming, on the other hand, they might be down in 6. The record does not really show why they're that far down, because they do have a very, very similar record against all the teams that they played so far as Starhorn. But nonetheless, they still have a lot to prove, and we'll see what they do when we get onto the Rift. One commercial coming up, and then we'll be there. 蜂蜜带来健康，柚子带来美丽，健康美丽喝啥哟？天窝蜂蜜柚子茶。And here we are, on to Summoner's Rift for the first time tonight. It is Invictus Gaming taking on Starhorn Royal Club in a 2-set for circuit points at the LPL Summer. Once again, welcome back to LPL English. I am Pyrotechnics, joined by Froskerin. We're getting this game started.
And of course, it's going to be IG on your blue side, Starhorn Royal Club on the purple side this time around. So it is a best of 2, so not a best of 3, a 1-1 split. It's 4 circuit points if you're new to LPL. 2-0 sweep gets you 3 points. If you split 1-1, it's 1 point each. And if you go 0-2, that is 0 points in the standings.
Conveniently similar to the OGN format.
Convenient.
Here we go. So everyone doing the line of scrimmage startup. This is pretty typical to see in the beginning of a set, just because everyone wants to feel each other out. You see a lot more exciting action in the second game, typically. And we'll see if they decide to shake it up. But so far, nothing to indicate any shenanigans, no lane swaps, nothing like that. But we do know Illusion likes to gank early, gank off, and will he make his move before even 2 minutes are out? He's getting himself a ward. All right, good Skarner.
So I feel like the name of the game is going to be Skarner versus Elise. And it's kind of funny because Insec hasn't really played Elise. We've seen him on the Rengar, the Kha'Zix, Uzi getting a little frisky with kitties, and actually looks like it's going to be a 2v2 in the bottom as well. Rengar, Kha'Zix, Lee Sin.
Uh-oh. Kitties, he went a little too deep on that one. That's a lot of power of a level 1 Caitlyn. It's actually going to force the back, so no contest for this blue buff now. I know they weren't really seriously going for it, but it completely eliminates the option. A lot of pressure off of Starhorn.
It's also going to stall the Skarner Illusion leash, which, again, I feel like the focus of the early game is definitely going to be the Skarner jungle versus Elise jungle. So Skarner's clear got a bit of a buff, still not quite the fastest, but, you know, he wiggles pretty decently around the map, has early ganks due to his new passive. I'm just really curious how Illusion's going to utilize this pick. This is the first time that we're seeing it in LPL. We didn't really see it much in the competitive scene internationally either.
And it is kind of surprising to see it come out off the bat like that, but perhaps, you know, Illusion knows something we don't. So far, it's going to start out everyone just feeling each other out, trying to get the poke down as much as they can, but this bot lane for Invictus Gaming is going to be very much at risk of being poked out. They have a very deadly combo on the side of Starhorn. Meanwhile, up in the top, Youngsu and Kola are going to trade out just a little bit. Gragas does have a decent bit of poke at that early level compared to Kola, and he's actually done a pretty good job of trying to harass when the farm comes down. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Korn and Zatai are going to continue to trade, but it's very dangerous for Zilean to be getting in the face of that Samurai right now.
Zatai has to be very careful right now. Yasuo nerfs have not gone through on the 4.10 patch, so he's able to stack up. I believe on the 4.11 they cut his stacks to 50%, so he doesn't have as much lane pressure dominance. That has not happened yet. The one advantage that he does have is He's a targetable ability mage, so it's not like Yasuo gets to utilize his dashes to dodge, you know, Ziggs bombs or something like that. He can just put that bomb directly on you. Downside, very mana dependent.
And whoa, Kitty's actually going to get caught by Zero. Look at how much harass is going down on this bot lane. Kid and Kitties cannot get up there to farm. Kid is being held right now to 5 CS compared to Uziai's 17. I know Caitlyn wins lane, but that seems a tad excessive.
Well, the bigger issue is that by keeping the wave pushed, and Kitties really has nothing to... Ooh, but hold on, Insect looking for the gank.
He's going up there. Youngsu going to be able to dash away. He actually flashes to avoid the cocoon. Meanwhile, it's going to get answered in the bot lane as Illusion going in. They're trying to stall out Kid and Kitties. They're going forward. That's the indicator. Uzi realizes Illusion is right there. The Caitlyn net back. Illusion's still on the chase. They're only going to be able to poke him down to about a quarter of his health. He will have to flash away, however, and Zero is going to get a catch onto Kitties. They're still poking it out left and right. Don't know if they want to go for it. The Ignite's going down. Kitties is going to flash, and it's going to be a none for none, but a lot of summoners burned in the spotlight.
That was one auto attack from Bad News Bears for Uzi right there. Illusion just could not get it off, was doing most of the damage with his Qs and trying to proc that red buff. And Insect looking for the reach around.
He's not done yet, but that was an interesting adjective to use. Well, in the mid lane, Zatai and Korn going to trade a little bit of poke. Realizing, though, that he was standing on a ward, Insect going to back away from that one wisely. In the meanwhile, this is still a very dangerous game for Invictus, especially in this bot lane. There is an ever-present threat of being poked down to, well, Zero, and you could always get caught by Zero. Kid trying to get up in his face and dish the damage out, prevent Kate from farming, but it is so difficult to do this against a Caitlyn, especially one being manned by Uzi, and it's going to be all on Insect to put a little bit of pressure in the other lanes, but he doesn't really have to in this bot.
Definitely, and I was going to talk about the matchup a little bit because I feel like it's been a while since we've seen Caitlyn versus Lucian. Now, the reason Lucian Nami works very well is because Nami puts her E on Lucian. He's one of the few AD carries that can get off all 3 ticks like we see him have it now. Typically, when that E goes down, he'll quickly burn an ability. Ooh, but Insect now looking for a gank.
Yeah, they see him coming about a mile away. He's going to flash for it. Anyway, Zero as well. They completely whiff their skill shots. Kitties, though, still being bursted down. And he's still alive, but the Peacemaker gets him. It's going to be first blood. 5.5 minutes going over to Uzi. Well placed, even if they missed the rest of them.
Completely burned the flash with the skill shots, but they landed the flay. So good job on Zero right there, and also a fantastic lantern to get Uzi involved in the back half of that. But
Well
you
timed,
talked
well
about how you know, the pressure didn't really need to be there, but the kill went over there anyway. So a lane already winning in that bottom. Uzi, the guy that you do not want to have an easy lane because he's just going to spiral further out of control, is on a very big comfort pick and just picked up first blood.
Yeah, right now, again, pressure on for IG as they have to really help out, well, especially for Illusion, as he has to help out a number of lanes. Top lane right now, Youngsu being pushed back against Kola. That's not something that you expect to happen on a Gragas. It's not something you really want to happen. And mid lane, doing pretty well. You have to give Zatai some credit. He has definitely performed well on the Zillion pick, but the rest of the lanes are not doing so hot. Kid and Kitties really just didn't pick well for this matchup, and I don't think they expected Insect to come, even less than I did, it seems.
So with this Zillion pick, what Zatai likes to do is he likes to roam with it. Obviously, the blue buff, the second tier blue buff, is needed for this because he is a mana-dependent champion. So I expect that the next blue buff will go over to Zatai, and he'll push his wave out with a, you know, like a 2-bomb rotation, and then quickly either run top or run bottom.
Yeah, that might work out for him. It's really dependent on how fast he's able to push his lane in when Korn is gone. I think he has a really good amount of roam potential, but you know, this is a team that is extremely hyper-aware of the map. Starhorn is going to see him coming pretty quickly. The wards have actually been pretty solid this game, too. You look at the way the river is being warded up right now, minimal, but they have been putting him in pretty key places to prevent ganks.
Speaking of wards, Illusion actually grabbing a deep ward on the red buff, so perhaps looking for a contest on Insect's second tier red.
So far, the gold remaining relatively even despite the farming, and actually Kid has been able to catch up. But now Korn trying to duel it out with Zatai, but he finds Illusion. He gets a pull off. That was excellently done with the burn. Zatai will pick it up on the ignite tick, but nicely placed in Pale allows them to equalize.
Definitely nice patience for Illusion, showing his strength about recognizing where he needs to be in his lanes, finding the correct pressure right there. Is definitely going to alleviate the mid lane for Zatai. Hopefully we can start to see that roam and he can get involved, particularly in that bot lane, because as we come on to the 7-8 minute mark, it's time to look for Dragon. I I mean, this is kind of one of the later dragons. We've seen Starhorn Royal Club take it as early as, I think, 3 minutes and 24 seconds in the
Not
split
just
so
them,
far.
too. It's been extremely early across the LPL this season, and especially considering now it's worth more gold, extremely useful to pick that up. And now, looks like a good number of Invictus Gaming members, well, they're going to hang out and do sort of a late leash, but they're looking to maybe push this on the bot side. If they can force Zero and Uzi out of lane, this could be their dragon, but instead they're going to back away.
Actually, really curious why they would go
I thought Kid was going to get hooked there. I was wrong.
Assist that leash right there just because they had the ward, so they knew where Insect was. They knew it wasn't going to be a contestation, and they had vision on Uzi and Zero. Huh.
Yeah, a little bit odd, actually. So
I think it was
Zatai
maybe
gonna
just a
pick up this blue.
drive-by for a sustain from Nami.
Yeah, now it actually looks like Starhorn is posturing in general for this dragon, and they might just look to rush it down. They're pinging out. They realize that Kitties is there in the spot, and here we go. Dragon's being pushed right now, and only Zatai is responding to this. There's no way he can get this steal off on his own. Dragon's going to go down for free.
Great call from Starhorn Royal Club. Obviously, Illusion not able to participate because he had just rotated to pass off the blue buff. Korn saw Zatai leave the lane, knew what was happening, called for the dragon, and unfortunately Zatai, only one trying to respond to that. So just a good read. You talk about hyper-awareness of the map. Starhorn Royal Club definitely showed it right there. And for once, on the same page, we talk about the communication issues, whether it's a language barrier, whether it's a synergy thing. Starhorn Royal Club is either on all 4 cylinders or they just completely fall apart. But again, early game teams, so far making the correct early game decisions. We'll see if they can continue to snowball this ahead for a victory.
Yeah, you talk about, first responding to the dragon threat, but I could not believe it was only Zatai doing it. When Zillion is the one that's getting there the quickest, you're having a little bit of problems. So Korn, meanwhile, will get shoved under tower. So far Zatai doing a pretty good job at holding off the Samurai, but the bot lane not doing quite so hot. Kid, to his credit, has been able to catch up reasonably well in farm. But how long can they hold this one out? Yangsu now pushing Kola into tower. This alleviates some pressure on Illusion, but he is, as you mentioned, a very gank-happy champion. If there's no lanes he can gank, what's he going to do?
The other issue, though, is the CS. So, like you said, Kid relatively staying even, about 10 CS in Uzi's factor. Ooh, but Insect.
Insect coming around the side. He's going to get a lockup, and Zatai didn't see that one coming. Korn's in there all of a sudden out of nowhere, and Zatai will ult himself, but they'll look to finish this one off anyways. Insect's still there, burns his flash almost immediately, and now Illusion comes to the rescue, so Zatai gets saved. Well done, and no counter gank, but counter pressure by the jungler from Invictus Gaming.
And really, it's a counter pick against Yasuo. So Zatai's thinking here is, yes, it's an all-in burst assassin. If I literally bring someone who has a built-in GA on themselves, there's no way that he can all-in me. And then picking up like a really high mobility jungler like Skarner, and by high mobility I mean look at that guy wiggle. He wiggles fast.
Wiggles fast, but Kid could not wiggle fast enough, and meanwhile they're going to get a kill in that bot side, and they're looking for more. Kitties is being chased all the way under tower. Zero actually taking aggro left and right, but it's going to be Uzi with the ace in the hole, mopping it up, and that's 2 kills to him, 1 to his support.
Uzi doing what Uzi does best.
Illusion, he's getting the pull on to Zero now, and he might find him, but I don't know. It looks like they're going to turn it around. Uzi gets him Zero. He's still alive. That is the tiniest of health bars, and now they're chasing Zatai. Insect is going to get him locked up, and Korn will finish the job with the last breath. 5-1 in kills on this game. Starhorn, they just pumped a couple more cylinders open right there.
IG completely misses the boat. Lack of communication, lack of map awareness. Not sure what Illusion did right there or why he did it. He literally wiggled into lane as quickly as possible, straight onto a Caitlyn trap. We're going to see the replay of this here.
Now, Kid, I cannot believe he got locked up on that one and fully took the pilt over Peacemaker. Uzi flashed away from the Nami bubble, and Kitties had nowhere to go. Zero was more than happy to tank the aggro for days. I could not believe that. And Illusion, yeah, you saw, he just couldn't wiggle fast enough.
He wiggled straight into a Caitlyn trap that pretty much spelled his end. I think he would have been able to trade 1-for-1, gotten the health regen off of killing Zero there on his Thresh, but unfortunately just did not pan out for him. And again, Uzi's performance on Caitlyn, we talk about how this is a huge comfort pick for him. Haven't seen it often just because of kind of the changes to Caitlyn and Lucian being on top for so long, but definitely a return to form that looks like the Uzi of Worlds.
Right, now he's 3-0 on this one. This is a threat that is ever growing the later the game goes. Caitlyn's going to have a bit of a fall off in the mid, but they're pretty happy going into this stage. They've only lost 1 tower. They've answered as well. And Illusion kind of having his usefulness negated with that failed counter gank attempt, or really finishing off Zero attempt that really didn't pan out.
Well, the issue is that his lanes are pretty much behind across the board. Zatai was holding out decently in the mid lane. This has now changed due to him being picked up in the river, but effectively every other lane is either losing in CS, losing in kills, and ganking a losing lane is pretty dangerous. So the fact that Illusion's strength is ganking and trying to snowball his lanes, and that's kind of his one go-to strategy, isn't working out for them just because the fear of ganking a lane, if Insect ever shows up, they're automatically at a disadvantage. So he has to, when he ganks a lane, know exactly where Elise is so she's not there for the counter gank, because that 3v3 will never go in his favor.
Oh, Zero nearly hooks Kid again. Yeah, I feel like the biggest surprise of this game is the fact that Invictus opted to go for standard lanes, no jungle buddy system. They left the top laners to do their island thing, as, you know, has become less and less common now. And I feel like they missed a golden opportunity to really take Cola out of commission, since Youngsu is one of those players and Gragas is one of those champions that can really sustain in a 1v2 lane.
I think this is indicative of Uzi and Kid, really. We talked about how Uzi is kind of
Speaking of Kid, he's getting locked up again. He's going to dash out of the box, but Zero, he wants to chase this one. Here's Illusion, though, to answer, and Uzi, he's in a bad spot, getting impaled up, and it looks like he'll go down, answered around by Kid, and now Insect here to try and answer the damage. Zero's a little bit too low, going to flay backwards, but Zatai already on the chase. Is this what IG is looking for to get back into this game? They will surely find Zero, but he's doing a good job of baiting them away from the jungler of Starhorn World Club, and Kid will take a double kill, a big roam, and this is going to be answered by a tower from Yasuo, or at least some damage on it. Can't even tell what the health is at. There it is. Looks like he won't take it, but still.
And unfortunately, Zatai's roam really doesn't mean anything for him. Cola, meanwhile, picking up the the red buff. So what Zatai wanted to do, as Zillion right there, is roam down, and he was looking for the tower dive. You saw him kind of look towards the tower. He's like, but guys, the Elise, we can chase it. We can tower dive. I have ultimate. Fortunately, it's just Zero. Good job making sure that Insect wasn't under pressure, saved his double buffs by leading them away and make sure that it wasn't going to be a triple kill pickup, just the double kill right there. So.
And unfortunate timing for IG on the Dragon, too, as it just comes up as they decide to back to base. Pretty low from that last fight. This one's going to be once again uncontested by Starhorn. So they get the first and the second Dragon of the game. So far, so good for them. And this is a bit of a ticking time bomb, not to borrow a Zillion phrase, for Invictus.
It's definitely very scary. First and foremost, the IH is already complete on Caitlyn. Caitlyn has the highest attack speed scaling in the game, but we do see Illusion looking top for a gank. Obviously, Dragon not being able to contest, so this is a good call here.
They're going to contest the other Dragon here. Zatai going to get with the roam up as well. Illusion looking for the ult. He doesn't actually have Impale quite off cooldown yet, but Cola's got nowhere to go, and there it goes. Going to pull him backwards, and Yangsu will help polish this one off. Illusion actually gets the kill. He nearly goes down for the effort by Tower, though, and nicely pulled off, but it might have been a bit of an overcommittal there.
Definitely a lot expended to pick up that kill and give Youngsu kind of just a, I'm not going to say sloppy response kill, but really the only option that they had available to them on the map. Again, look for this every single time Zillion shows up into a lane. He has ultimate, he's going to look for a lane, they're going to look for a tower dive.
Yep, so far it has actually started to even out a little bit, but the Dragon Gold has really helped out Starhorn, and they're now invading this jungle on the bot side, and I'm not really sure what they're looking for. Maybe a red buff steal. They don't have a timer on it, but they do get a couple of deep wards off, and they're able to clear a little bit too. Now, meanwhile, Zatai will find Insect on that side as the ward wars start to commence. Once it hits about 15-16 minutes, right? Who can clear out whose wards faster? It's like a carnival shooting gallery.
Zatai a little bit on the chase here. Getting frisky with Insect. Oh, he's a speedy guy. The mobility on the team is pretty ridiculous. You think about Lucian with the Relentless Pursuit, the fact that you have Nami passive that applies mobility. You have Zillion that, of course, can speed you up. Skarner, a very quick champion. And then
definitely built
Gragas,
for catching people, though. A lot more than it is really sustained fights, it seems.
It's much more a chase comp and kind of kite reactionary, which really suits kind of the Chinese playstyle as far as the 5v5 meta is concerned. They're very much about team fights, you know, perfectly stacking abilities this way, that way. Speaking of stacking abilities, we might see an impale into a cask.
They're trying to bait this one out again, Yangsu. But Cola is a little bit too clever for that. He said, wait a minute, the last time you got a aggro on me, I got dove under tower, so I think he'll back away. And now Zatai up on this one. They really want this tower, though. Looks like they might go for that.
I think they're going to sacrifice their mid tower for it, though.
Yeah, it looks like Korn is eyeballing that one, and Insect is as well. Although he's heading up a little bit higher. No, they're not going for it. They really just wanted the kills. Cola's going to be able to back. And I can't believe Invictus didn't take the chance to push on that tower. Uh-oh, Zatai's getting caught out, and Korn is going to get the knock-up and the lock-up. Zatai, he gets his ult off just in time, but they'll be there to try and answer back. He's going to get his ult off, or his flash off, excuse me, but they're going to answer for this with the tower. Oh, maybe not. There's Illusion. Skarner, I choose you.
The warding from Starhorn Royal Club, look at that. They have completely the river warded up. They have that gap on the side of the brush right there to catch Zatai. Might actually be a dive, though. Zero's on the back half.
Yeah, no need to when you can clear the towers, though. Bringing in the cavalry with Uzi able to poke those down with ease. Meanwhile, Invictus, they're finding their bases slowly but surely ceded away from them. They do still have a bit of control, but there are wards peppered throughout the topside jungle and river that if they make a slight movement in there, it's like a sensor net. They're going to know on Starhorn.
And Starhorn making the correct decision right now, saying, you know, we have all the first tier towers, we took bottom, we took mid, now it's time to rotate our duo lane, make sure that Uzi gets the most farm and experience available to him, at least for free, and look at this top tier tower now.
Yep, Illusion and Kid will try to defend against this wave. Kitty's there as well. They seem to be committing quite a lot to these rotations, but not the full team.
It's reactionary rotations,
yeah,
really,
very
from
reactionary.
IG. Starhorn Royal Club is completely depicting the pace and style of this game right now, and not necessarily what you want. They have Korn on Yasuo, so they have a late-game pressure. We talked about how Caitlyn has the highest attack speed scaling of any of the AD carries in the game. Now that Ayage is a more viable build path on 4.10, she's a very big threat, as opposed to Lucian. And Kid, I wanted to talk a little bit about his Lucian build. Obviously, when facing... I'm not going to call... Ooh. Is Insect
Nope,
gonna go for
Insect.
this?
Yeah, I thought
No,
Insect
okay.
was going to do something cheeky
I was like,
there,
this
but-
is about to look really violent. No, Lucian. He has consistently been considered kind of a mid-game power spike champion, traditionally with like the BT, the Trinity. Of course, BT no longer a viable item. Going for the Infinity Edge, trying more towards a late-game geared Lucian build. There's kind of 3 different routes. There's like the Trinity route, there's the Bork Ghostblade route, and there's like the Eye-Edge Phantom Dancer route.
Bork Ghostblade, also known as the Name build.
The Name build. With this build, he is recognizing that Caitlyn is going to outscale him late game, and he's going to try to be more of a threat and a presence there. Obviously, you also want to build more late game emphasis when you have a Zillion on the team to make the most of his ultimate, but
Yeah.
I don't really like that matchup. Like, Lucian has to win lane, and that just didn't happen for him.
Yeah, and it's really hard to do, especially against a Caitlyn, especially against Uzi I's Caitlyn. And now Starhorn looking to chase into this topside jungle, and they just muscle through to try and take this blue buff. Illusion is there, looking to impale somebody. The bomb's going on him, and they're looking to try and take this fight. I'm not sure if this is a good idea, though. Illusion getting chunked down very low. No, Kitty's, he's getting popped by Cola on the backside. Illusion going to get targeted down by Uzi I, and they're still chasing around. A nice position. They've somehow found this one, but Kid, he's going to not get hooked up as it's Youngsu body blocking for that one. And it looks like they've somehow taken this fight on the side of Invictus Gaming. They're diving forward. Youngsu, he takes out Uzi, and all of a sudden they're getting kills left and right. Zero's gonna fall, Korn's gonna fall, Cola's gonna fall, only Insect remaining. And how did this fall apart for Starhorn Royal Club? All of a sudden Invictus looking in the lead. And they're gonna take a Baron.
But they have to be really careful. This is technically still a 50-50 Baron, because Insect is still
there
alive.
is Insect. No, Zatai's gonna try and block. It's cool. Oh no, he goes down! And Elise is gonna repel away from the bomb, and then get popped. Oh no! So they will get the Baron eventually, but that was a very close thing.
Zatai sacrificing his life for the better of the Baron to make sure that there's not a throw here. They have to be very careful, a lot low, but the Baron does go down to IG, so huge team fight that swings IG's favor for this game, taking the Baron off that. Here's the replay. It is all about Bomb Squad and friends. So Illusion is in the middle of their entire team with the Zillion Bomb, effectively puts 2 people at half health. Cole teleports in the back, doesn't get off his Dragon Descent. He pushes Youngsu. I guess he got Kid as well. He pushed, effectively he pushed Gragas kind of into the team, but Kid, perfect positioning. This has been the split of Kid's life here.
Yeah, Youngsu just being a boss and muscling through that. Also, they had Cola separate around the backside. I thought for a moment Kitty's was going to get chunked down, but then I forgot that, you know, Cola favors a very tanky variety of Shyvana, not a heavy damage dealer, and it resulted in a pretty turned around fight.
Cola does very much favor kind of that, I mean, known for his Jax play again. We talk about how his Jax solo queue stats are pretty ridiculous. His Shyvana as well is pretty highly contested. He is a Bork Shyvana, so not necessarily the most tanky member on his team, which is why he lost a lot of damage kind of running through the back half of IG before, you know, eventually turning into his final form. IG picking up some free towers, do have the Baron, so in the driver's seat right now, but Starhorn Royal Club, I believe all 3 dragons to their name, still have the gold lead. A slight 1k in their advantage. Obviously, a lot of that was on the last team fight and this Baron, but consistency, showing up late game, making sure that they can transition their power from early game into late game. Their rotations look so clean, and it was just one bad fight for them that really turned the game, but we'll see if IG is able to do anything with this Baron. Obviously, gives them a little bit of pause, time to take a breath, regroup themselves, but they need to get down these first-tier towers.
Well, no rest for Invictus Gaming, looking to capitalize on the really nice fight that they took in that one. So they did manage to chunk down a couple of towers, and they close to even up the gold lead. A mere 600, 500 gold now sitting in favor of Starhorn Royal Club. And they're looking to really shove up as much pressure as they can here. Marching a couple people to this mid. They don't quite have the waves with them yet, but with 2 Baroned Up members, they should be able to at least muscle this out a little bit if they don't have the range on Uzi and Zero. As long as they don't get hooked up, they should be okay.
I believe they have 4. I think it was Zutai was the only one who didn't get the Baron. Because he died to
oh yeah, that's right. Yes. That was... Can we talk about that a little bit? Because that was the coolest thing ever. Oh, I'm going to put a bomb on you, and then I'm going to die, and then you're going to rappel up, and then you come down just in time for the bomb to go off.
Zutai definitely showing his flavor on Zilean right there, and to a lot of success, which, again, the game that they lost the first time they brought this out, he looked really clean on it this time around. Doing a little bit better now that they have the Baron, so we'll see if they can maybe get a win.
Uh-oh. Zutai getting caught up, and he's going to get his ult off. That was a lot spent for him, though, and all of a sudden, Corrin is trying to wind wall away as he gets chunked down for just a second. Zutai will fall as soon as he comes back off. Now they're turning on to Corrin. Youngsu going to belly dash into this one, and he gets the explosive cask off, and that turns it right on around. Cola, he is down to almost no health, and Illusion is chasing him out. He's going to fall down, and that is a 4-for-1. Zutai baiting that fight out very well. And how about this 3-0-6 Gragas? Kitties nearly gets taken out. Insect, though, falls for the bait, and Yangsu chunking him down. Can he make it 4-0-6? I don't know, but he's doing quite a job this game, forcing the flash away from Insect. Oh my goodness, this is a big Gragas.
Can we talk about the Lich Vein on Gragas right now and the amount of damage he's putting out with it? I haven't seen that build. I mean, typically with Gragas, it's what, Gauntlet, Iceboard Gauntlet. They go kind of like a tanky build, or you go like straight AP Gragas. The fact that he's like this Roa on hit, I'm going to burst you, and the huge turnaround coming over that wall. That wasn't a teleport. He literally just walked to that team fight. So the ability of Zutai's Zilean to stall out a fight long enough that Gragas can walk from across the map to get involved with that is huge. You talk about how much was expended for the Zilean ult. Obviously, Zutai doing his homework on this pick and getting it to work exactly how he wants.
This is a completely different Gragas than we've seen in him play on in the past. In all honesty, this is the newest patch, or not the newest patch, but this is the newest patch in China, 4.10. It seems like they went back a couple patches. We see Gragas doing all this work now.
Can we talk about how it's a little bit PDD-esque? We talk about how PDD was kind of, you know, the big...
comparison.
Well, to make the branch of kind of like NA. Not saying that Zion, Spartan, and PDD are you know, on the same level of players, but I feel like they kind of do the same style. It's that carry top, you have to come deal with me, I'm going to push this as hard as I can, and I'm going to, you know, pick tail and build Hurricane, and you have to respond to me or I'm going to take your base. Youngsu, not necessarily the map pressure game, but, you know, finally coming out as being the big carry for his team, building the Lich Bane, having the Roa, not doing, you know, their traditional, I'm just going to be the utility bruiser tank, because when PDD retired from the scene, it was kind of the death of an era as far as we don't have a lot of carry tops in LPL. It's much more kind of go-goings, you know, I mean, he has the Rise pick there for him, but, you know, Shyvana, Renekton, we play kind of the utility bruisers, we create space for 80 carry to play and do things, whereas PDD was like, no, I'm the true carry of this team. And Youngsu, 3-0-6 right now, 234 CS on this Gragas. Coming through
and he's looking to chase down Uzi too. Well done, and the team is rallying behind him too. Not to mention, he can really get away with a little bit more heavy AP build as Illusion becoming the big tank. Yangsu's going to get hooked up, but they put the bomb on him. See, this is such a great engage opportunity. Zutai doing work on this Zilean pick, and they muscle down a turret. Cola trying to answer on the bot side with a split push of his own, but Yangsu just TP's in there. Zutai actually, he stays a little too long. He might get locked up, and they're realizing it's the capitalization. Illusion going to sacrifice for the sake of his team. And that was a bit of a misplay by Invictus, but they have done quite a lot of work with that Baron buff they picked up all those minutes ago.
Definitely Zutai being a little too overzealous, staying there. Illusion sacrifices for him. 2-2 and 10. Skarner finally going down. Raid boss complete. Thankfully, the Baron wasn't in play right there, otherwise that could have spelled bad news bears, so IG gets a break there.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of a misstep, but they do really retain this lead, and for some reason, Starhorn had such a fantastic early game. They had amazing lanes, they had a lot of good counter roams and counter ganks from Insect, but they could not capitalize in those mid to later game team fights, and it was all Youngsu and Zatai, and really the team's positioning that's helped them this. So if they take this Dragon, it will be their fourth and the fourth of the game, maintaining Dragon control, but 13 seconds till the Baron's up. That's going to be the next big objective on this map for both teams.
And we talked about this before the start of the game, that Starhorn World Cup. In fact, for both these teams, it was really kind of the consistency late game. IG has definitely kind of come out more so in the late game than they had the early game, finally taking the gold advantage for pretty much the first time during this entire game. Starhorn World Cup pretty much had the death grip here, and it is still available to them. So yes, we've talked a lot about the Zillion pick, that Zatai is looking really good, the Zillion pick is really working out for them, getting the situations that they want. That said, you still have to deal with Uziai's Caitlyn, it's going to outscale the Lucian. You still have to deal with Korn's Yasuo, is only going to get stronger at this point, definitely an item-dependent champion. What he has his Eye Edge and his Shiv complete. So the core items right there, looking at his Bork next.
Oh, Youngsu nearly gets chunked there, but he's a little bit too big. Yeah, so at this point, IG is looking stronger to take fights, but Starhorn cleverly realizing that, you know, the Ward Wars are there to clear out the Baron, and they're trying to aggro it, maybe poke out a little bit so they can take a slight advantage in fights. What they really need to do going forward, it seems, is to protect Uzi a little bit better and get off the, you know, Yasuo ult wombo combos with Kola before there's really any chance for IG to answer. And for that, they need just the right angle of engage. They just haven't been getting it.
They need to not waste their burst damage on one person, because they need to kind of counteract the Zillion ultimate. So they need this, what is it, last breath, final breath, the Yasuo ultimate. They need it to go down on at least two members.
That was a very quick Pokemon just moving to the mid lane right there. Illusion looking for a fight, looking for a catch. The Banshee's Veils on so many members of Starhorn because they do not want to be the one impaled on the end of that sting.
Kind of stalling out for this Baron, spacing for it. Youngsu does have to respond to the minion wave bottom, doesn't have teleport available to him, so we'll see if Starhorn World Club recognizes this cooldown. Doesn't look like they're going to try to pressure it.
Yeah, right now IG definitely in the driver's seat for this game, as they really have been taking the fights to such a level that Starhorn is afraid to go for it. And this is a problem for them. If they can't find the confidence to really take fights when they need to, they're never going to be able to capitalize on these.
This Baron, though, can still go either way.
Very true. The legendary Baron throws are possible. Uh-oh, Kid's going to get caught up. He's going to dash away. They didn't follow up on that one. See, even when they have him caught, they were a little bit afraid to go in on that. Rightly so, because there were so many members of Invictus Gaming in the brush. But that gave enough time for Youngsu to come back, and he's happy to get hooked on that one. Look at that. He's like, all right, I'll just throw a barrel at you.
My favorite part is, if there's ever a catch, if there's a cocoon, if there's a death sentence, there's a catch on any of the members, all Zatai has to do is drop a bomb on that person, and immediately the decision to go in on that is negative. There's a 0% chance that they're going to go in on that. Kitty's taking quite a bit of damage for that Baron, gets half health.
Yeah, he's going to have to back away from that one now, but still. You're right. This is an amazing part of the Zillion combo right here. Anybody gets hooked up, suddenly they become an undesirable threat. Now, moving in, realizing the opportunity that they have, Starhorn going to clear out a couple of wards as the rest of Invictus Gaming not quite in here, and they actually could try to rush this Baron down, but it's a very dangerous maneuver. I think they're just going to try and reverse the bait. It's being pinged out right now by Invictus, though.
We'll see if the teams have learned anything. In the past in LPL, I feel like the Baron throw would have already have gone down.
This is a completely different LPL, though, and these are completely different teams now, it seems.
Oh, definitely. Starhorn World Club alone, their roster has completely been revamped from last split.
Oh, yeah, and Uzi, the only remaining member from the World Squad of last season as well.
It's the only remaining member from Royal Club squad.
Yeah, very true. So Starhorn has this brief moment of map pressure on their side, but they have to react quickly because there are waves pushing against them in the top and in the bot, thanks to Youngsu. Teleport is up. If they want to make a move, they got to start it now. It looks like they're going to start for this Baron, and Invictus doesn't really know this is happening. They're not mobilizing for it. This could be a sneaky, sneaky Baron It's going to be spotted now by Kitties, but is it too late for them to do anything about it? The teleport's coming in. I think this is going to be it. Looks like they pick it up. Elise is going to smite it away now. In second, the rest of Starhorn World Club on the chase. All of a sudden, Invictus not really sure what to do. The bomb going down on Illusion. They want to take this fight anyways. Cola already down to half health, but so is Illusion. Young-Soo, though, getting locked up on the stun. He's going to have to dash out of this one, and it looks like it's abort mission, but Kid going to fire off the culling, and they're going to disengage from this one. Although with the Baron buff, definite win for Starhorn.
Starhorn needs to disengage and just take the free Baron.
Uh-oh. Oh my goodness. They're both teams on the wrong side of the map right now.
They're trying to stall out for the region here and look for another reposition. The nice thing is they have a lot of non-committal CC. Again, we talk about kind of the lock of the Descent, it's the cocoon.
Yeah, and they're still looking for this chase. I think this is going to end bloody at some point. There's really no way for them to escape. Invictus Gaming trying to go around the side. Zero going to separate the pack. And so far, so good. Okay, so they managed to get him out, but this could be a chance for them to rush a tower down. Meanwhile, they have to move fast. There are waves pushing on the top, on the bottom. The bot wave is nearly at the inhibitor turret. And Starhorn World Club still looking for the fight. They're going to be able to back, though. This tower, however, is another story.
IG might not be able to get in position to save their inhibitor here. Starhorn World Club can burn this down really quickly between Yasuo and Caitlyn.
The one consolation prize is that there are minions there. So, whoa, they do get in position. Even with the Baron buff, the rest of Starhorn not happy with that potential engage. And looks like Invictus still wants to take it. Young-Soo going to dash forward, dodge out of Spiderling. Everyone's going to be able to get away, though, just fine. However, they have to deal with these minion waves knocking on their bot and their top lane.
Talk about the mobility of this team comp. Look at how quickly and how
That
far
is a fast fat man.
Young-Soo is able to chase them up the lane. And again, it's not about catching them. They don't necessarily want to catch them unless they get the perfect pick on one person just because of the Baron buff. It's about stalling out Starhorn World Club's response to the building minion waves on their towers.
And how close is this game economically too? You look at it right now, 6 towers to 4, 13 kills to 8, but 56k gold to 55.3. This game has been so close, and this might be the first dragon for Invictus Gaming at 34.5 minutes in. Nice capitalization on that. They do have the burst to take it down real quickly, and I cannot believe how amazingly balanced this has been. Both teams playing really spectacularly.
It's never too late to make a change. That's what that dragon tells me. But, you know, we talked about this before Champions. Like, IG and Starhorn World Club, very different standings. Starhorn, of course, tied for second. IG not having the best opening split of their lives, way down on the brackets there. But they effectively have the same records against the same teams. They beat the same teams. They lose to the same teams. The fact that IG hasn't faced last place team World League Academy yet, which should be an easy 3 points, but you never know with IG. They like to mix things up, keep it close.
Very, very true. And I really do think that this is one of the most balanced games that we've seen, one of the most balanced matchups that we've seen in all the lanes and in the jungles as well. Starhorn have done a pretty good job of recovering into this late game, and they do have the composition really fit to scale that way. They're not relying super heavily on Corrin's Yasuo. They're letting Cola initiate fights. They're letting Zero get non-committal hook catches and get people out of otherwise bad situations. And they're doing a good job, a better job, of protecting Uzi. He's got 3 deaths on this game to the 1 of Kid, but they are able to pressure these objectives now. With the Baron buff, it's really hard for Invictus to get these fights off. They still want to take them, though. They're very confident in their team fighting ability and their wave clear. Look at that. Kid's actually going to get targeted out by the ace in the hole. They don't block it, so he's down pretty low, but he has enough lifesteal to maybe balance that one back out a little bit. Actually had foregone finishing the... well, he's got the build a cutlass. Yeah, he foregone finishing the Blade of the Rune King. I had a pretty bad brain fart there and opted to instead go for the Last Whisper, which I think is a really good move at this point in the game, too. Meanwhile, the Mercurial might be finished up for Uzi.
Uzi does have the Quicksilver Sash right there available to him, has the Crucible available to him, so definitely a big bonus in favor of the AD carry. Again, we talk about the non-committal CC. So Death Sentence, Cocoon. What Starhorn Royal Club is going to do is they're going to consistently throw out those skill shots. It's kind of like rolling dice. They roll the dice, they see if they get good numbers, and then they choose. Do we go on this? No. Okay, that wasn't what we wanted. We didn't want illusion. Reset, wait for the cooldowns, try it again. And it's kind of this war of attrition of are Zatai without blue buff and Young-Soo able to clear the waves fast enough. Also, calling back up, so available.
Yep, the waves, though, are in the favor of Starhorn. Whoa, Zatai getting taken low. Now they catch Young-Soo on this one. He's not in position to get a bomb in his face. Actually, it's going to be Illusion that gets that instead. But there's a wave pushing on the top now, and Starhorn, realizing they have an opening, going to push forward on this one. Everybody from Invictus Gaming backing away. And the Baron buff is now worn off, but they did make good use of it, and they're still continuing to apply the pressure. This game, so dead even, a 500 gold differential. Can they save this top tower, though? Illusion racing to make it happen. Can he wiggle there fast enough?
Starhorn Royal Club looks very controlled, very patient, and very precise in everything that they're doing right now. Obviously, I mean, utilizing Uziai's ultimate as a poking mechanism to try to get rid of the wave clear on the side of Invictus Gaming, focusing the objectives, knowing that, okay, we do not want to dive a Zillion ultimate and a Skarner ultimate. That's just not in our cards right now. It's about the poke, it's about the war of attrition, it's about playing the map pressure, which historically LPL teams haven't really been known for. They've been known for kind of their crazy team fight comps, which IG is pretty much playing. I'm not going to call it I guess it is kind of like a gimmick. They have this play style going for them of like high mobility, re-engage, disengage, look for the team fights, and Starhorn's much more about, creating map pressure, being slow, focusing objectives, what's important to us. Is it the dives and the kills, or is it the tower? And Starhorn's now still kind of in the gold deficit, but definitely pulling ahead as far as kind of the swing of power in this game.
Yeah, so far so good, but Invictus Gaming not getting shut out just yet. They're looking for these picks around the side. They're still confident they can take these fights and apply map pressure, and they're doing a good job of roaming through the jungle and not giving an inch to Starhorn. And just sending someone in with the bomb. They have so much mobility, so much in-your-face engage.
Exactly. And look at how open the map is. We talk about how towers are going down so much faster than the meta that they ever have before. Like, this meta is so... The map gets broken open very, very early. And if you have a team composition that is all movement speed, that is all mobility, that is all chase, that is a very far... I mean, look at how quick this Pokemon is.
Yeah, it's crazy. Insect had to spam his cocoon just to keep Illusion from chasing him down. And this is Invictus Gaming saying, we can get in your face and duel you all day. Just the minion wave on bot, screw it, we're fine. We're just going to go in on you. And now it looks like they're going to try to find an engage here. They're going to get the last breath off Cola now in the face of everybody. Korn's in there as well. Zero doing a pretty nice hook onto Kid. They've already melted through Kitties, and it looks like that was the fight that Starhorn was looking for. 3 for none. Kid is coming back up, but he'll get bursted back down. Uziai takes the kill credit on this one. It's a tie. Manages to sneak his way out, but this is a bad position for Invictus. Cola teleports down bot, ready to start clearing the waves, and it looks like it could be a couple of inhibitors down now. Zatai, the only defender available for Invictus.
We talked about the huge factor that Korn needed to get the Yasuo ultimate off on more than one person, so just Zatai couldn't counter him with his ultimate. Finally hacked for him. Fantastic Dragon Descent, fantastic last breath. Ooh, Zatai.
And they're going to find Zatai too. So Cola still
dive.
taking aggro throughout all of that. That was well done. But yeah, once Korn managed to find an angle that he needed to, it was that combo we were looking for. Insect goes in on that. Cola goes in on it, gets the knockup, and then Korn comes in, last breath, insta-gip 2 members. Just totally down. And this is going to be game number 1 in favor of Starhorn. They looked good at the beginning, they stumbled in the mid, they found their footing again, and they take down the Nexus at 40 minutes. GG, well played.
I'm really going to give this to Champion Select. We talked about how Starhorn World Cup effectively got every single pick that they wanted. They weren't contested on anything other than Insect's Lee Sin, and they pretty much out-comped IG. It looked a little bit shaky on kind of that Baron throw, the swing of power, but IG's composition wasn't built to scale that far into late game. They didn't have enough damage threats. So, good job from Starhorn World Club.
Yeah, well played to them, but we will be taking a quick break as everybody else is sitting there on those really comfy-looking couches, and we'll go over to a couple commercials. But guys, when we return, game number 2 of Starhorn World Club versus Invictus Gaming. Can Invictus pull it out and 1-1 the series, or will it be Starhorn 2-0-ing and going a little farther up in the standings to solely hold on to second place? We'll be back. You're watching the LPL in English.
而且最完美的一波团战，确实刚才在高地下面一波团战打得很
龙女
漂亮。
那一波直接扑大扑到了3个人，之后加上亚索
的配合
招，
非常果断。
对，龙女和亚索这2个点的配合，直接让这波团战变得摧枯拉朽。虽然说姿态那一波是我们看一下吧，姿态那一波大招是给了出来，他把大招是给了一个卢锡安，但是已经没有什么太大意义了。
这边首先被打的就是卢锡安，所以他没有办法，只能给卢锡安这大招。
Zero 这个大招也是很好的封住了对面的走位。
卢锡安死了，酒桶死了，娜美死了。其实姿态这波成功逃脱，但是已经没有什么太大的意义了。
你看这给了一个大给小孩，可是这边已经完全没有用了。
对，然后姿态回家想重新守一波下路，但是没办法。
没办法，这个
刚才我们在后台说了，就是时光是英雄联盟里面为数不多的 4个技能只有1个技能是伤害的，
输出技能。
对，比如说只留他一个人的话，他蛮难创造奇迹，
对
再加上他没有大招的情况之下，
还是需要一个队友的配合。
对，其实这一波的话就感觉埃及没有稳住吧，但阵容拿的绝对够潮，对吧？
潮，
阵容是已经引领了我们国服的尖端的这个排位
对，姿态已经第2次来拿出这个时光老头。
但是还有一点就是他打野蝎子。